New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you here on a Friday evening. New Thought Media Network, 5 o'clock on the Mountain Time Zone. That means it's time for the good news of the week. And I tell you, we only get a half an hour here, and we've got it jam-packed full. We were cutting stories like you wouldn't believe this afternoon during the production meeting, because there's so much going on. So we want to jump right into it. Late breaking news this afternoon. President Joe Biden nominates Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. I personally think this is just a wonderful demonstration of what we talk about on this program, what our president promised us when an opening became available. And Ms. Jackson Brown is, Ketanji Brown Jackson. She is a federal judge, Court of Appeals out of the District of Columbia, very highly respected and expected to pass nomination without much of a hitch. It seems like a pretty bipartisan choice. So thank you for that, for Ms. Jackson, for your service. We appreciate that. Not all the news coming out of what's happening in the world over the last couple of days is tough news or bad news. If you thought we weren't going to talk about Russia and the Ukraine, well, no, we're going to talk about Russia and the Ukraine, because what's happening here, while we, as an organization, denounce what is happening and what the president of Russia is doing, Putin is doing there in the Ukraine, what we do want to celebrate is that the Russian people are saying no. And in 53 different cities across the nation, across Russia, the people have stood up in protest and said, no, we don't agree with this. We think this is wrong. We don't think you should be doing this to a sovereign nation. Now, in Russia, my research, what I read, indicated that these people were well aware they could very easily be arrested just for showing up at these protests, and were warned not to protest, and were warned that the consequences could be dire, and they're stepping forward and saying, hey, we want to be heard, and we want to be heard for peace, not for war. Kudos to the Russian people for standing up and saying no more, even in the face of adversity. And this is an interesting time, folks, to be we say that a lot around this network, and we've been saying that a lot in the last couple of years, that it's an interesting time to be alive and to be a part of what's going on in the world. And this is a very multi-complex story. It's a very complex and multifaceted experience in the global consciousness. And I've been asked a couple of times in the last few days, is this the beginning of World War III? Is this the beginning of a world war? And my answer is unequivocally no. We're not going there. We've done that a couple of times. We proved it. We've proven it doesn't work. And what I know is, I know there is a spiritual solution to every human problem. And I know there are religious science of mind practitioners in Ukraine that are, yes, sheltered and, yes, doing what they need to do to stay off the streets and stay out of harm's way. And I know they're doing their prayer work. And I know they're doing their working consciousness to envision a peaceful resolution to this conflict, and a peaceful and a free Ukraine. And that is what I'm going to invite you to join us in this week, is knowing a peaceful and free Ukraine, regardless of how that looks or who's pulling what buttons or pushing what triggers. All right, sorry, enough of the war type metaphors. Let's get back to some more good news here. Again, kudos to the folks in Russia. Now I want to jump across to Canada. Now, normally I stay away from the Canadian stories because my co-host, who you'll see after the break, will be coming up shortly, and Terry Choyce, she normally takes the Canadian stories, but I snuck this one tonight because I thought this was really, really a cool story. Myala Sladvenek, and I knew I wasn't going to get that round. Please forgive me. Has been working in the world of tutoring for over 10 years now, and predominantly teaching Inuit children the Inuit languages. And now she's taking this online. So currently, there are around 65,000 Inuit natives that live in Canada, and around 40,000 speak their native language. She wants to see that as at 100%. And if you ask her why it's important for Native people to be able to speak native language, I love her answer. Asking why this is important is just like asking why water is important. We need it. There's an innate need inside us, searching for a part of ourselves we can identify. I want to give people their language and allow them to grasp something they've been searching for. If you didn't know, across Canada for forever, residential schooling of Indigenous children in Canada attempted to wipe out their culture and erase their languaging, and so this is great work being done to make sure these languages stay alive, and again that they're fully alive in their native tongue and with the native people. So good work there. I'm going to have to brush up on my Inuit to be able to pronounce your name right, Mila. But I'm going to work on it. All right. Hey, we always like to shout out the good when we see it. And if you see some good news happening, please let us know. Send us an email, goodnews@ntmedia.org. We get a lot of our stories from a number of growing sources now. We use goodnewsnetwork.org, sunnyskies.org, positive news, and I found a couple news sources this week as well. So please check out some of these sources for good news stories in your world. Before we take a break, we want to give a shout out to the big man this week, Shaquille O'Neal. And it seems like it's never very long before you hear another Shaquille O'Neal story, because he's always doing something really interesting. This time, he bought a waitress. Well, he bought a family a van, and then following that, went to dinner and tipped the waitress $1,000 after having a nice dinner with the family in their new family van. There's a great video. We'll make sure that we leave some links in the show notes for you to be able to catch up with this story and read a little bit more about it. We love that there's so many ways out here now to get more good news into your life, and we invite you to join that. Whoa! Not sure where that came up from. That's one of our great programs going on right now, though, here on the New Thought Media Network. I'll tell you about that in a minute. For now, kudos to Shaq. Thanks again, brother. I love when we see celebrities that are generous with their gifts and with their money and what they've been able to create in their lives. So, all right, I'm Rev Briz. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, Our co-host Terry Choyce has got a few more good news stories before us. Before we do that, though, please check out a couple of the things that are going on here around the New Thought Media Network. Be with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. I'm Terry Choyce, and I'm up in Nova Scotia, Canada. So I every week try to pick out some Canadian stories and international stories because, good news goes global. My first story takes place in Quebec, and it says near to where the Ottawa and St. Lawrence rivers meet, a small island teeming with birds and turtles sits surprisingly untouched amid a suburban sprawl that has turned the surrounding waterline into concrete walls. The island, called Ile Ronde, was spared from this development by the dollars of one man back in the 1960s, who, after decades of refusing to sell to real estate and property men, has just donated the island to the Nature Conservancy of Canada to be protected forever. Thor Wilkstrom, who is now 93 years old, says, "It's a good feeling in my heart. I know this will be there forever." The Wilkstrom family has long been involved in the protection of Quebec's natural resources. In addition to donating the island and many more contributions to the Nature Conservancy, they support Ducks Unlimited Canada. Wilkstrom said, "Nature was more important than some stupid money in my pocket. I said, this is something that's got to be preserved, and I kept my word." So thank you to Thor Wilkstrom. The next article is something that is relevant to each and every one of us, and it's about the speed of our memory. And this article says that the speed at which we can deal with issues requiring rapid decision-making does not change substantially over the decades. Psychologists at Heidelberg University have come to this conclusion. They evaluated data from a large-scale online experiment with over 1 million participants. The findings of the new study suggest that the speed of cognitive information processing remains largely stable between the ages of 20 and 60, and only deteriorates at the ages that are a bit higher. The Heidelberg researchers have hereby called into question the assumption to data to date that mental speed starts to decline in early childhood. Oh, I'm sorry, decline in early adulthood. Another finding of the study was that average information processing speed only progressively declined with participants over the age of 60. It looks as though, quote, it looks as though in the course of your life, we don't need to fear any substantial losses of mental speed, particularly not in the course of a typical working life, says Mishka von Kraus. So that's really great news for each and every one of us. So my mind, my mind works as fast as it ever does, but it just doesn't retrieve all the words that I wanted to get. Alrighty, so my third story is a really great one. And this one takes place in Canada as well. A Canadian clothing line is helping transgender kids feel confident at the beach or pool with bathing suits designed to maximum comfort without compromising style. Jamie and Ruby Alexander are the Toronto father-daughter duo behind Ruby's, a fledgling fashion business that specializes in form-fitting clothing for trans and non-binary girls. Ruby said she's proud to see how the brand is allowing other trans kids to take part in the same activities as their friends without worrying about what they're wearing. She says, a lot of trans kids just stop doing what they love to do because they don't feel comfortable. Ruby, who is now 12, said in an interview, "We want to change the kids' lives, and we're happy to do that." Since Ruby came out as transgender at 9 years old, Jamie Alexander said fashion has been an important part of how she expresses her identity. But it hasn't always been easy to balance style against concerns for her safety. Alexander said Ruby has been involved in every step of getting the business off the ground, helping her father keep up with the latest trends on top of the usual demands of homework and chores. While it can be hard to juggle her duties as a grade 7 student and a fashion maven, Ruby said it's worth it to see the impact that Ruby's is having on kids like her across the globe. Ruby's has managed to sell roughly 1,000 swimsuits in its first year. Ruby said, "There's other trans kids in the world who need help, and I'm happy to see them smile, and I'm proud to be the person I am." Way to go, Ruby, and her father, James. So I'm Terry Choyce, and I have a program called Feel the Flow on New Thought Media Network. It's on every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. So tune into the radio station here at New Thought Media. It's 24 hours of positive, uplifting music. Okay, folks, I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Heckerland Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
Yes, we have another technical. There we are. Thank you, dear ones. Rev Robert here. Thank you to everyone that makes this network possible. It is thanks to your donations that we're able to do what we do and continue to bring you more of the good news, as we do every Friday evening here, 5 o'clock on the Mountain Time Zone. Thank you again to my dear co-host and dear friend Terry Choyce for being a part of this, and our great producer Diego Reyes in the background, making sure that we always look as best as we possibly can. Remember, folks, if you run into some good news, or you have a good news site story you'd like us to cover, by all means, please do send it in. goodnews@ntmedia.org. All right. Now, many of you know that we like to cover the scientific and the technical stories, and a lot of energy stories around here. Now, today, this is a new one on me, and this article says it's a game changer. Now, we know there's a water shortage pretty much everywhere. 2/3 of the planet is affected by a water shortage in one way or another. A team from MIT and China has come up with a partial solution. Now, desalinization is not anything new. However, desalinization generally requires a wick, and those wicks that's where the salt accumulates. So this is different. It's a wick-free system, and it's solar-based. So it is 100% renewable. The tech and the science is just a little, it's not my forte. So we'll make sure that you can find how to read all the science in here. But overall, the device as it is would be very inexpensive to build, very inexpensive to replicate, and able to work across the planet, pretty much anywhere. A solar-based desalinization plant. We're going to follow this story, and we're going to keep on top of it, because that could be a game changer. And we have seen other technologies of harvesting water from the air without electricity, nets, and other things. This one, however, really promises to up the ante and increase the water supply. We talk about renewable energies a lot, and it's important that we remember that part of this is that those blades up on all those turbines we see, they have a lifespan. Currently, a turbine blade is about 20 years. The lifespan of these blades is about 20 years. So some of the old ones are coming down, and some of the new ones are going up, and there's always going to be a supply of turbine blades. Well, the companies that make these things don't know exactly what to do with them. And so there's new ideas coming forth all the time. What we're looking at here is a picture of a couple of blades and sections of blade that are from two different blades, but the same section. So they're going to be used as trusses on a bridge. And structural engineers say this is going to work, and so the testing has begun. Now, this is not a proven science by any means, folks. So we're not going to go out there and however, what I do believe is if we're doing this now here and building bridges with turbine blades, imagine some of the other things that could be done and some of the other things that we might be able to do with turbine blades. I had not thought of this until now. This is a pretty good news story. We're going to recreate new ways to use turbine blades. Hey, this one's a story that almost slipped by us. Actually, it's about a year old now. In February of 2021, the Humans of Bombay shared a story about an auto rickshaw driver that sold his house to pay for his granddaughter's education. This is Desra Ji, and he revealed that after losing both of his sons, it was his responsibility of providing for his grandchildren and daughters-in-law that gave him strength to keep going in his life. 6 years ago, his oldest son disappeared from home. He was found dead about a week later. 2 years later, his other son committed suicide. When his granddaughter asked if she would have to quit school, Desraj assured her that she would be able to continue her education, and he took over, working long days and nights in the rickshaw, eventually selling his house to raise the funds to keep her in story. Well, I think you might know how this one goes. Covering this on the Good News Story, yes, the GoFundMe was set up, and everything has been taken care of. He has been the money has come flowing in, and he's got everything. He's got his house back. And that's what we love, is right time and the right everything. Everything's happening in a unique and amazing way, and it's happening to bring forth just the right things in just the right ways. This next story, and our last story for the day, a 2-year-old saves a family of 7. This is Nathan and Kayla Dahl and their family. Brandon's the 2-year-old. He came into mom and dad's bedroom in the middle of the night going, hot, 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 mama hot, and woke his mother up. They had just enough time to get out of the house. It was, they say that as they were coming out of the door, by the time they got out of the door, the house was fully engulfed. Firefighters indicated that this was due to a space heater, and the young man was sleeping in the living room. Brandon, the 2-year-old, was sleeping in the living room because he was ill, but it was thanks to that he was able to recognize and was woken up by the heat of the fire. Kudos to Brandon, 2-year-old, saving the life of his entire family. So much. So many good news stories out there. Folks, before we go tonight, we do also want to offer you an opportunity if you're interested in finding a way to help the people of Ukraine during this time. Obviously, there's still an ad there. We'll get rid of that for you. This website, we do not endorse any of these organizations. We have not dug into their background, but we want to offer you this as a platform by which you might become involved. The website is called Good, and they list a whole bunch of different places that you can check out, and different organizations and ways to support the people and the country of Ukraine during this time. If you so choose, please do check that out. Thank you, Diego. Just dropped a link in the show notes, in the comments from today's broadcast as well. All right, I'm Rev Robert. I'm going to get out of here for now. Now come back and join us again in just about a half an hour for the Friday evening fireside chat with our dear friend, Pastor Michael Mangus. He always has a great look at the stories and what's going on in the world today, and how we can take and bring a spiritual perspective to it. There we are, Friday's fireside chat, spiritual conversations for today. 6 o'clock following this, in just a half an hour. Join us again for that. I'm Rev Briz. I'm going to get out of here for now. Until the next time we see each other, well, first off, thanks for being you. 2, please hit the share button and let people know about the good news that we've got going on here at the Good News Network. Until next time, peace.